Good morning. Good morning. Shalom, Brother Lawrence. Good morning to others. To my West Coast viewers, and good afternoon to my Central and Eastern viewers, Eastern Time viewers, rather. Um, we're here for another installment here on the Oaken, and as you can see by the title, along with the thumbnail picture, the title is called "Jealousy: A Mental Cancer." Um, Today, we'll be looking to the story of Joseph, Israel, which is who's also first known as Jacob, Israel's youngest son, and how the telling of his own dreams revealed the inferiority complex that his brothers had concerning him. Um, I'll end up telling the entirety of this story in multiple parts to not overload our minds with the information that's in this story because there's so much information and so many lessons and so many things that can be learned from this story. But today I'll be starting in Genesis chapter 37, verses 1 through 11 and verses 18 through 28. But before I start, I want to read a quote to you on jealousy that I want to state a quote to you that I've read on jealousy before, and it states, "Never hate people who are jealous of you, but respect their jealousy. They're the ones who think you're better than them." I thought that was a very powerful and very interesting quote. Um, uh, and it fits this situation here perfectly, as well as it also fits the situations that we see in this space perfectly. Um, never hate them. Just like you said, never hate them, but respect it because they're the ones that think you're better than they are. Um, so, like I said, we'll be starting in Genesis chapter 37, verses 1 through 11. I'll be reading from the Amplified version. And here we go. Verse 1. So Jacob, Israel, lived in the land where his father Isaac had been a stranger, which meaning here a sojourner, resident alien in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, when he was 17 years old, was shepherding the flock with his brothers, um, which were Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. The boy was with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, um, which are his father's secondary wives, and bought and Joseph brought back a bad report about them to their father. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children because he was the son of his old age, and he had made him a distinctive multicolored tunic. Um, and his brothers saw that their father loved Joseph more than all of his brothers, so they hated him and could not find it within themselves to speak to him on friendly terms. Verse 5. Now Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they hated him even more. He said to them, "Please listen to the details of this dream which I have dreamed. We brothers were binding sheaves of grain stalks in the field, and lo, my sheaf suddenly got up and stood upright and remained standing. And behold, your sheaves stood all around my sheaf and bowed down in respect." His brother said to him, "Are you actually going to reign over us? Are you really going to rule and govern us as your subjects?" So they hated him even more for telling them about his dreams and for his arrogant words. But Joseph dreamed still another dream, and he told it to his brothers as well. He said, "See, here I have again dreamed a dream, and lo, this time I saw 11 stars, and the sun and the moon bowed down in respect to me." He told it to his father as well as to his brothers. But his father rebuked him and said to him in disbelief, What is the meaning of this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brothers actually come to bow down to the ground in respect before you? Joseph's brothers were envious and jealous of him, but his father kept the words of Joseph in mind, wondering about their meaning. Give me a minute. Um, and like I said, we're going to go to verses 18 to 28, because this right here is where we get to um, the information about because of the jealousy his brothers had for him. This is where they begin to plot against him. Um, Everything after that, it's in between is him, getting to them to find where they are, because he's being sent to actually by his father to find out, where they are and if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. But so we start here, verse 18. Uh, Welcome, Black Curls. And they saw him from a distance, even before he came close to them. They plotted to kill him. They said to one another, "Look, here comes this dreamer. Now then, come and let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits, which is a cistern, which cisterns underground for underground water storage. Um, then we will say to our father, a wild animal killed and devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams." Now Reuben, which was the eldest brother, heard this and rescued him from their hands and said, "Let us not take his life." Reuben said to them, "Do not shed his blood, but instead throw him alive into the pit that is here in the wilderness, and do not lay a hand on him to kill him." He said this so that he could rescue him from them and return him safely to his father. Now, when Joseph reached his brothers, they stripped him of his tunic, the distinctive multicolored tunic which he was wearing, which in a previous verse it said was given to him by his father. Then they took him and threw him into the pit. Now the pit was empty. There was no water in it. Then they sat down to eat their meal. When they looked up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, east of Jordan, with their camels bearing ladanum resin for perfume and balm and myrrh, and going on their way to carry the cargo down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What do we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let us instead sell him to these Ishmaelites and Midianites and not lay our hands on him, because he is our brother and our flesh." So his brothers listened to him and agreed. Then, as the Midianite and Ishmaelite traders were passing by, the brothers pulled Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit, and they sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. And so they took Joseph as captive into Egypt. These verses here, they're very powerful, and they very much explain a lot of the people um, here in this sector of Black YouTube, which I pretty much call the niggosphere, because of the stupid stuff and the false and crazy, just ignorant things that go on here. I call it that because of the simple fact, when you look at these brothers here, they sold their own younger brother into literal slavery because of their own inferiority complex they had concerning him with themselves. And in this space, you have many of the same so-called brothers doing the same thing to other younger men here, selling them into slavery by, selling them lies that in the end does them no good. It harms them instead of giving them truths which they can use to better their own lives. We've seen it in real life away from YouTube. Right. That black girls that said that's why a lot of the younger guys here don't have any respect for these OGs because of how, I mean, they've been lying for years to these younger guys, and they still do it on here. Um, I know many of you have seen it in everyday life, not just on here in YouTube, but in our everyday lives, it happens. Um, so that causes this descent, and it's not to the gynocracy, because gynocracy is about um, the gynocracy is about sex, whereas feminism is about power. Um, that's the real issue. They're selling them into female dominance. Salute, Soul Provider Speaks. Thanks for coming in here, man. They're selling them into feminism, which is about power, which when we read this book, I mean, it states here that man was created and given dominion, created for dominion over the earth, to rule over the earth in the absence of the Almighty. But nowhere in there does it state that woman was too. But you have these old niggas who failed and who were failed by even older other dudes by not telling them that and pushing this truth to them. They keep, and then they continue to keep this perpetual cultural failure by pushing this idea of female dominance, that it should be celebrated and supported, when it's nothing that should be celebrated or supported. And if we read the scripture, it shows just that. Female dominance is an act against the code and will of God. He wants nothing to do with that. He according to the scriptures, men were given and created with a biological purpose of ruling over, not the woman. So when you see here with these scriptures how these other older brothers, because of their jealousy of their younger brother Joseph's destiny to be what he's seen, well, first off, with the treatment they seen him being received by their father. It's one thing that I like to say here. What I have is for me. It's my life. I can't nobody live it like me. The life that Lawrence has is for him. Nobody can live it like him. The life that Soul Provider has is for him. Nobody can live it the way he does. Just the same way with you, Black Girls, and you, Wadden. Nobody can live it like you. So it does no justice to yourself to be jealous of a life that isn't for you. Your own life is for you, and nobody can do it the way you can. So it's something that you should be proud of, no matter what your status is, no matter what your not just social status, but financial status, or all these other trivial things. Nobody can live that life that you were meant to live the way you can. So it's up to you to live it to the fullest, And that's what these brothers were missing, because of this special, different relationship that the younger brother Joseph had with his father. They're miserable about their own life instead of being able to appreciate what they actually do have and make the most of it. So instead of doing that, what they end up doing is they sell their own brother into slavery like many of these OGs have done throughout our history and are still trying to do now. Um, this story is so it has so many gems in it that I knew that I couldn't have I was gonna have to be multiple parts. It's so much information here to absorb that we miss so much out in it. Um, that's why I'm gonna break it down in multiple parts. I figure it probably be I know at least a 3-part story deal, maybe even 4 that we're gonna cover over the next few weeks. But that's where I want to end this. I'm gonna shut this one down, but I'm going to open it up. I'm going to open up the barbershop talk on this particular subject to allow some brothers up here on the panel. That way we can talk about this and talk about how this issue, this jealousy, this mental cancer, how it's affected our culture, how it's affected it's affected a myriad of cultures. It's shown in society, in American society today, period. Um, and we're going to talk about this and talk about the issues and what we see here in this story and how it applies to our everyday lives. I want to thank you for coming out. I want to thank you for tuning in to this. I'll get this other one going here just as soon as I close this one down. And I just want to thank you all. Stay safe. Let this, take this knowledge and be able to apply it to your everyday lives. That's what I made this channel for. I wanted everyone to be able to apply it to their everyday lives. I want to thank you all and peace. I'll be starting up the next broadcast here in a minute. Thank you. Later, fellas.